Clay Johnson from Coley Sales. Thank you for attending the Waszp ACCs. We're fortunate to have Andrew McDougall, the inventor of the boat, come over from Australia, and he's going to run us through some rigging and tuning and answer some questions we have. So, without further ado, Andrew.
Hi guys. I haven't had a lot of sleep, so bear with me. And also, if you can't hear me or understand my Australian accent, please tell me. So the sail has been made deliberately, probably too full for the boat, and that really came from the fact that we wanted to get the thing foiling as early as possible. So what happens if you don't play with these battens when sailing a day like this, you're going to be overpowered. So it's really in these top three that you're doing your major adjustments. So at the moment, these battens are pretty tight, and the tightest state you would ever want them is just taking the creases out just beside the batten. So I would want to see any of these battens tighter than is needed, so you can just really closely. If you're looking from here, which not everyone can, you can see that there's just a little bit of grease, just little wobbles along that batten. The tightest you would ever have these battens, if someone would just hold this for me, please. The tightest you'd ever have these battens is just taking those creases out. Any tighter than that, what you're doing is actually slackening the leech between the battens. So this starts, you actually deform the sail. Down the bottom, you probably never get the creases out in this area because there's just so much downhaul tension that's causing that to pull together. So everywhere else, you can sail in very light winds with getting rid of those creases, no tighter than that. Really important that you don't go tighter than that. It just doesn't work. So from here, we can get rid of power, and the biggest one to get rid of power is this top one. It's definitely overcooked in its shape for anything but the lightest wind. So we can back this quite a lot and get rid of, and you can get to the point where the sail is quite ugly. So I'm talking about 3 or 4 turns to get rid of power, and you've got to get these creases here, and it's ugly, but it's going to make it a lot easier to sail.
Really back here. Running our head against the wall.
So it's something that I can't tell you exactly how you should set them for any one wind, but it's something you've really got to be thinking about before you leave the beach. Personally, I always sail with a back to beach, and I will change tensions between races. So the other tuning thing that is very important is the cam spaces. Now, the more cam spaces you have in, the better the sail performs in light weather. There's no doubt about it. But it's just a trade-off: rotation and power with the cam space. You know what I'm talking about with cam space. Does anyone not know what I mean? No.
Okay, can you go into that?
So there's these little square things that fit onto the.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So those things. So this one, this is pretty loose here. We could make that tighter. You want a bit more power. And conversely, you can take them out to reduce power in heavy winds. It's not something that I would probably play with, but what I'm generally trying to do is get as many cam spaces in and still be happy with the rotation. So it's just a bit of a play. As the sail gets older, you'll find that it'll need more. It'll rotate still. So it's another thing you can do on the beach, but it's not something you're playing with day to day. So while we're at this end of the boat, what is another thing that might be adjusted before you go out?
Height of your
I don't know. So, anyone want to put forward where you might be today compared to a light day?
Lower.
Lower, absolutely. What sort of distance do you think you would be changing from the lightest to the heaviest one? Probably less than that, but you're in the ballpark. It's not a lot, and we got this opening pretty right. The average is about in the middle, so you can go a little bit up to get some more power, you can do a little bit down to get the sail to twist. A lot of people are running 2 loops, some even 3, so it's a quick change so you can move it up and down. 2 more. So gantry, where you're looking for your adjustment on the gantry is obviously to thread the needle to get this so when you're sailing downwind, you're probably near the back. When you're sailing upwind, you're probably near the front. And you want it to be near. You don't want to, if you're always maxed out on the front upwind, then you probably need to put more, like move the gantry shorter here, give more lift so that you're not always at the front. There should be enough range in this never to hit either end. Should be. Particularly in flat water. Maybe in waves you do need to use the full range. So it's just one thing, you've got the adjustment here, so it's not a, this is a coarse tune, this is your fine tune. It's just making sure that you've got the range. So, bridling. You got 2 things. What do they do? Has anyone played with the bridling? Not a lot of show of hands. Come on, somebody must have played with it. Reed, you've played with it.
What's this?
Reed, you've played with it.
What's this?
Have you played with the? You're not listening. Standing over there. You're going to have to take over. You're going to have to know what's been said. Have you played with the bridling?
A little bit. I think it's really important that, I think they come a little short. I think it's really important that the blocks go vertically up from here and not being held back by this rear rattling. And then whenever you get to max controls, so Cunningham and outhaul, as long as you're not running out of main sheet, I think it's, as long as you're close though, it's pretty okay.
I think that it is worth experimenting with. I think that a shorter bridle is going to help a little in a breeze because you're going to get shorter bridle is going to help in lighter air.
You can get more leach tension.
More leach tension for the centralising. And I think actually the length of this can be used to offset the tension of the main sheet and tension of the outhaul. So people have been running 6 to 1 out here, which actually changes the dynamics of the sail. We will be writing this as is allowed in the rules to go to 6 to 1 on here rather than 4 to 1. And it actually changes the amount of tension in here, it reduces it, and you can actually offset that with this rear bridle. So I think it's worth playing with. I'm not saying anything's right or wrong, but I do think it's a tuning thing that we have here. You don't have a lot of stuff you can change. It's one I would be certainly playing with to see how it goes. Personally, I have one setting for the gearing, and I'll put a caveat on it. I haven't sailed the Waszp probably as much as a lot of you guys, but when I have sailed it, I've always found there's one setting for me, personally, and that's no turns. And that requires this one system to be working absolutely perfectly. And it also requires that you're able to adjust this. I have the one flicking a long way forward or being held back, which I'm going to get into in a minute. It certainly is easier to sail with a bit of gearing, but overall it's pretty quick to get used to it, I think, personally, with not a lot of gearing. Because you can really get the full flat range with the low gearing. Flat water here, low gearing should be easy. Gusty winds may need a bit of gearing, but personally I don't change it. It's one setting. Reed, I want your opinion.
Yep. I think in a bit of chop, I think it's very beneficial to have maybe 3 turns out of the gearing for going downwind, just because the foil and the wand are pretty close together. So being reactive enough to keep the bow up is pretty important for, especially when you're getting new in the boat.
New in the boat definitely needs 3 turns.
When you say chop,
I just like going fast. So now we got this little thing that we put on yesterday. It's, I think, super important, and in a moth it's less or almost no importance because we have adjustable wand length. This actually effectively gives us adjustable wand length. So if we let the wand flick forward, it's like having a short wand. If we stop it flicking forward, it's like, well, we're going to let the wand come out of the water and not go forward and not bring the boat down. It's like having a longer wand. So it's an adjustment that allows us to sail safely or a little bit on the edge and go faster. I don't know how much I have to explain that, but if you want, if you've got any questions about that, happy to answer. But that's on the edge, that's safe. Anyone else on that one? Happy with that explanation?
Can you explain a little bit why it's more on the risky or on the safe side?
Well, when you're stopping it going forward, the boat can come up and the wand is not going to bring it down. So you can sail in flat water or a little chop where you know you can keep control of the boat by whatever method, maybe moving your body or steering it, but the wand's not doing it for you. But you can keep the boat high and go faster. If you're letting the wand go forward, it's doing its job of bringing the boat down, so it's safe. Sorry. This is not something you can change every day, but it is something you will change between summer and winter.
angle of your wand.
That's because you've been talking. So, at 16 degrees centigrade, whatever that is in Fahrenheit, the whole characteristics of the boat changes because the way, well actually, I don't know, I put it to a symposium made up of quite a few very high-end hydrodynamicists and asked them, why does it change? And no one's been able to answer. But there is a density change, there's a slight viscosity change in the water, but there just seems to be this point around 16 degrees Celsius.
60 degrees Fahrenheit.
Water temperature.
Water temperature. That the boat changes. And what happens is that the foils ventilate much earlier. And you go from 16 to 10 degrees and it probably doubles again. But from 16 degrees up, everything's fine. And at 16 degrees, the biggest problem with the Waszp is the rudder ventilating. It is because of the design of the foil. I make no apologies for that because we designed some things for safety. The back is rounded, it's quite square. The rear foil is quite big because we wanted most people to be able to foil jibe it, and any smaller, because the boat's so heavy and slows down so quickly, it was very difficult. So a lot of things make the Waszp easily to ventilate on the rudder. So one of the things you can change is by bending this little baby and having the wand further out, which stops the amount of turbulence the wand causes that trips not cavitation, and I'll explain what the difference between cavitation and ventilation is in a sec. It stops the tripping of that ventilation on the rudder, and it is a massive difference. if you're sailing in 12 degrees water and you've got the wand like that, it will trip the rudder all the time. So having that just a little further out makes a big, big difference sailing in cold water.
How do you get it out?
Just bend this.
Ah, so it's technical.
Very technical.
Literally, like,
Bend it. Just bend it. It's quite soft. Stainless steel.
that's so scary.
Chinese steel.
No, it's 316 stainless. All 316 stainless is quite soft. It's actually softer than the 304.
How
but
much
it
do you
does-
bend it?
Well, personally, I would sail in with the wand about out here. So we're talking about 6 inches from the hull.
That's
And why wouldn't you sail it out all the time if that's an issue?
Because it's a lot more tack to tack adjusting of the ride height because and the upper angle, and that's really annoying. So I'm sure Clay will love this because he'll sell lots of these expensive things when you break them. But no, I've never seen one break.
You think you carried two? One band and one...
You could.
Yeah.
Yep. As Ben and someone else can't remember mentioned is the angle of this centerboard. A lot of you have come up to me and say, I can't even put the pin in a different place. Most people are sailing pin centered, and it works really well pin centered. But if you are sailing in super extreme big waves, pin forward will make the boat easier to sail, for sure. And if you can't get the pin in, simply take a 6mm or even a 1/4 inch drill, which is slightly bigger and will make the pin loose, and just get the board in position and just drill through, and it's fine, not a problem. The back hole is unusual to use. It might be something you would do if you're a bigger guy to get a bit more lift on the foil, or it's super light winds and you're trying to get up, but I don't think that's the case. Would you agree on the front one?
I don't know. I've not experimented with that.
Yeah. It's something I have recently experimented a lot with the moth, and I was actually really surprised how much difference it made. And I'm making an assumption that that translates to the Waszp, but it makes a massive difference of being able to sail a boat in big waves, having less angle of attack on the front foil, which is front hull. But generally, if you're sailing here, or you would never move from the middle hole. Never move from the middle hole. One thing I just want to go over, and you can do the adjustments while I'm standing there, Reed. I don't think we really made a big thing about how flat this sail should be sailing upwind in these conditions. So, Reed, please.
Can you start from zero? Can you start? I think there's a lot of downhill on there.
So going downwind. And another thing is, if you ease one, how many times have we eased our Cunningham and it just hasn't moved, right? And same thing with this. You have to ease both of them at the same time for it to work together to ease and tighten. So this is a downwind setting. See how it's nice and loose. You can probably see the head fall off quite a bit on the leech. This is going to give you a nice knuckle to have a big wind range to go downwind. Going upwind.
You're basically two blocking the outlet.
Nice. That's just about there. As soon as I'm up foiling and over 12, 15, my sail's like this. No drag.